This is RoadTrip WDW. I'm your host, Rebecca Schlau. Welcome to Episode 8. We're going to be talking about Galaxy's Edge opening up in Walt Disney World. For those of you who have not been following along with all the latest news and happenings of Walt Disney World, Galaxy's Edge, or also known as Star Wars Land, is going to be opening up this fall earlier than expected in Disney World. Now, the opening date is set for August 29th, and this is super exciting because originally we'd all anticipated that the land would be opening in later fall, like even into December. So when we found out that it was getting opened in August, that changes things. What we did find out was that not all of Galaxy's Edge will be opened. It seems like most of the land itself will be available to wander through, and there's going to be one of the two main attractions open. This land is located at Hollywood Studios, if you didn't know already. Once this area of Hollywood Studios opens, this will be one of the busiest theme parks to visit, and I think all of the world. Keep in mind, Hollywood Studios really hasn't been that popular in the last few years. Now, it did get a boost in attendance with the addition of Toy Story Land, which was much needed. But for several years, Hollywood Studios is one of those parks that's been known as kind of a half-day park. There's really not as much to do there because everything's been under construction. And it's so nice that the fruits of the labor are finally starting to show up. And this is a really, really fun time to be a Disney World fan. I'm really excited about it opening because it reminds me of when I was a kid and MGM Studios, the old name for Hollywood Studios, was opening, or when Universal opened. And for us, Hollywood Studios essentially is a new theme park. There's going to be some of the same attractions that we love, like Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster, but I haven't even gone to Toy Story Land yet, so the next time we go this summer, we'll get to experience a little bit of the progress, and then later on this year, hopefully we'll get a chance to experience the whole shebang at Galaxy's Edge. If you haven't heard the details, let me go over some of those with you. So Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars Land, August 29th in Orlando, but they're opening earlier at the Galaxy's Edge in California. I love this. I love that California is getting a taste of it first because I'm really worried about the crowds. I think a lot of us are. I am super worried about the crowds. I'm super worried about the lines. They will not be giving out fast passes. So no matter what hotel you're staying at, you're not going to be able to add any of the attractions in Galaxy's Edge to your fast pass repertoire. Which, there's good and bad to that, honestly. But that's why the crowds really scare me, because as someone who's been an Uber planner over the last few years, I have relied on being organized with my fast passes and getting on early and booking things the right way. And essentially, all of that hard work and effort just isn't applicable here. But that also gives me a little bit of a relief because, you know what, nobody else is fighting for these fast passes, and really I should just chill about it. I'm not the only one that's worried about crowds. If you listen to any other Disney World podcast, crowds is a big deal, and everyone's anticipating huge crowds, and that's okay. It's expected. But for those of us who have been to Disney in the last year or two and know how much just the opening to Pandora at Animal Kingdom or Seven Dwarfs Mine Train has changed the flow of traffic, we're all pretty worried about Galaxy's Edge and the crowds. Disney World themselves, they are a little bit worried about crowds because now when you go look at details on their website, they actually have a little disclaimer, know before you go. They want to let people know ahead of time that crowds may be crazy and you may not even get in. I'm going to read you straight from the Disney World website. It says, Capacity for Disney's Hollywood Studios Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and its experiences is limited. Access to the park, land, and experiences may be restricted or unavailable depending on guest demand and other factors. Park tickets, annual passes, vacation packages, and Walt Disney World Resort hotel stays do not guarantee access to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Disney Fast Pass Plus service is unavailable for the attractions in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance will not be available at the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and will open later this year. Again, this is why I like the advantage Disney World has, because Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge is opening first. So we'll be able to get a little bit of information and data about how the traffic flows through there, the crowd level, what works and what doesn't work. And so hopefully by the time things start opening up at Disney World, we have some of those kinks already thought up and have solutions for. However, I do think things will be adapted as we go. It really just depends on the crowd levels and demands. You know what? This all could be a big hype. This could be just a big hype about crowds, and actually everything's going to be fine. But, Star Wars fans and those of us who are Disney World fans, I just have a feeling things are going to get kind of crazy. I remember when I was in high school and the newer Star Wars movies were coming out, like Episode 1 was coming out, and at our local rinky-dink movie theater, we had people camping out for these tickets like a week before the tickets were released. We had people camping out in Benton, Arkansas. I mean, that's crazy. And I mean, these fans weren't like dangerous or anything. Quite the opposite. They were out there playing Star Wars Trivial Pursuit and having a great time doing lightsaber fighting and stuff like that. I'm not going to call them geeks, but they were fun and they love their Star Wars. So there's a lot of those, okay? There are a lot of Star Wars fans, and Star Wars fans are multi-generational. So we are talking my parents, me, my kids. I mean, we have 3 generations of Star Wars fans that are just combining into this love for this land already. So it's a really big deal, and I think we're all so excited, which means there's going to be a big demand for everyone to see it. We're not real sure how they are going to manage crowds. I have some ideas on the best way to get to see all the attractions, but before we get there, just wanted to go back and touch on a really interesting point, is that we all expected Galaxy's Edge to roll out at once, but here they tell us one, in fact the biggest attraction, isn't even coming out till later in the year. Now this, I can't really tell if this is crazy, if this is disappointing, if this is genius. I don't really know. I've been trying to think about that, and the more I think about it, the more I think it's going to be better for crowd control, because those diehard Star Wars fans who must be there at the beginning, they may already have their trips done and over with by the time I visit later in the fall. However, those same people who are diehard Star Wars fans may actually come back. But there's a lot of us who live out of state, and we're not going to be able to make multiple trips in the year. So hopefully it divides up some of the demand, but we never really know. We'll see. The ride that will be open for everyone on August 29th will be Smuggler's Run, and that is the Millennium Falcon ride. This is the old ship of Han Solo, and I think by now, right before episode 9 comes out, the Millennium Falcon's been through quite a bit, been through some challenges, some wear and tear, and the whole premise of the ride is we are going to be smuggling some cargo or goods through the galaxy. And so I'm assuming things go wrong, and I'm assuming we are going to have a really wild time. It's going to be one of those kind of virtual simulator rides, but it's going to be more interactive, like a video game. So think to Star Tours, think mission space, those of you who have done those sorts of things, think one of those virtual simulator rides where you see a big screen and it looks like you're flying and it's moving all about. You know those ones they used to have in the mall that you could just ride if you paid a fee. So think kind of like that, but add a ton of buttons and an interactive component. So what you actually do, the buttons you push make a difference. The way you turn the ship makes a difference. You can essentially do badly on this. I don't think you can die, crash, but it is like a video game in that you are going to be responsible for helping the mission. Now there's going to be 6 people per ship, and 2 people will be driving, and then 4 people will not be driving. They will be pushing buttons. Now, do I seem bitter about that? And we're gonna touch base on why I sound a little bitter about the non-driving part of Smuggler Run in just a little bit. But the next ride is going to be the Rise of the Resistance. And this ride is going to do it. This is going to be it. When you think of amazing rides, I just have this feeling that Rise of the Resistance is going to be fantastic. It sounds so multi-dimensional. There's a lot of walkthrough into this attraction, a lot of details. There's a ride portion. I think we're going to be amazed. I hear that we're going to be amazed with this huge room filled with Imperial troopers in a hangar. So like on a Death Star, what do you call those? Imperial ships, whatever. You get into their hangar and then you see all of these stormtroopers and they're white. And I think some are animatronic and some are just there for effect. But apparently it's just huge scene, like an amazing scene. The details. I mean, you're going to be in it. You are going to be living in the movie. And then you go through some of those corridors that you see in the films, with the interesting shaped ceilings and mechanical things and all the droids. And then in parts of the ride, like I've seen those drawings or images where we are going to be like riding in carts underneath those huge Imperial walkers. They already have one Imperial walker in front of the Star Tours building, and it's amazing, but I think there's going to be like a few of them. I think you come face to face with Kylo Ren. I think it's just going to have a little bit of everything, and it's supposed to be a long ride. Like you're going to get your money's worth, so to speak. Now you're going to wait probably 8 hours to do it, but it's going to be a longer attraction, and it sounds like it's going to be super fun, and I'm really excited. And I wasn't even excited about this ride. I thought that the main attraction was actually going to be the Millennium Falcon ride. So to hear that there's actually more of a dark ride experience, it's not a roller coaster, I don't think, but knowing what Disney is doing is getting me really excited. And you'll notice that all these other Disney World podcasters or bloggers, we're all just amazed at how well things are going already, because we know how much Disney is putting like these fine details. Like Disney knows we are looking at them. Disney knows they have one chance for this. They cannot screw this up. Star Wars fans are crazy. We want things to be perfect. We want it to be done right. We don't want a cheap, phony, silly Star Wars. We want amazing detail. We want to see the movies come to life. And I love all the details that are coming out. Now, the rides and everything are going to be located in a fictional planet. Well, I mean, I guess all the Star Wars planets are fictional, but one that's not even in the movies, which is Batuu, and we're going to be situated in an area of Batuu called Black Spiral Outpost. And so you'll have 2 rides. Now, this is a big land at Disney World, so it's going to be divided. I think people will first walk in more of a market, busy, hustling, bustling town feel on this planet. So you'll have your shops, your merchants, your food, and then I think you kind of walk around to more of a secluded area, like through the forest, maybe through some caves, something like that, and then you get to the other ride. And this is to represent that the rebellion is hiding out in the forest. Now, the rebellion, y'all, that's, I guess, the good guys. That's the resistance. That's all the people you know and love on the current trilogy. So Poe and Rey and whoever those other people are. And the other area is being infiltrated by the Imperial Army. And so the whole premise is you're on the planet of Batuu, and around the same time that you're there, the Resistance and the New Order, whatever they call themselves, the bad guys, the good guys and the bad guys are meeting up in Batuu, and they're hiding from each other. Okay, that's all we need to know. And the details are going to be amazing. The shops are going to be crazy. Let me tell you about this. You can make your own droid. Like, it's going to be really cool. From the pictures, it looks like it's going to be this little factory, like where you can make your own R2-D2 or something like that. I mean, probably not very big, but it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really interactive. I'm sure it's going to be really expensive. You can also buy your own lightsaber, and apparently these are hardcore, really intense lightsabers. I'm assuming a lot of these experiences are going to be much like those we already know from Pandora, where you can buy your own Banshee. So for those of you who have not been to Pandora to buy your own Banshee, these experiences, these shopping experiences aren't just, you don't just walk in and buy what you want to buy. You go in and you kind of go through a show. Like, they give you a whole spiel. They kind of wine and dine you, not really, but they go through a story about how it's important and how to make it and make it your own. So I'm assuming it's going to be like that. And from what I hear, it's probably going to be a lot like when you're making or choosing a wand when you're at Universal Wizarding World of Harry Potter, when you're choosing your wand at Ollivanders. I haven't been yet. I really want to go, but I'm assuming it's going to be more experiential. So buying things is going to be an experience in itself. Again, these experiences / souvenirs your kids won't use after you leave are going to run you, and they're going to cost some money. I'm going to assume everything's going to be over $100 here when it comes to the lightsabers and the droids. I'm sure there's going to be lots of other cheaper merchandise to buy, of course, but you'll pay dearly for the really, really cool ones, and that's expected. I mean, if Disney can make money on something, they're going to. I expect nothing less. There's also going to be lots of eateries there. I think there's going to be 5 places to get food. And of course, since Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is highly themed, you're not just going to go in there and get chicken fingers. They're going to be called something, space food. And they have lots of different items already out on the menus. I mean, you can go and look right now to see what everything is called. I mean, I have a few things that I wrote down. Like, they have drinks that are milks, but they're not really milky milk. They're like milkshakes or slushes and berry flavored, but they look really cool. I think that's the whole thing. I think all the food's going to look cool, but it's really just going to be, a lot of it's going to be pretty standard food or pretty interesting food that looks cool. I guess it could be good. I mean, at Satuli Canteen down in Pandora Animal Kingdom, I guess they really did do kind of an upgrade on standard theme park food. So it looks like it's all going to be like that. Like, it's going to be fancier than normal hamburgers, hot dogs, corn dogs, and funnel cakes. It's going to be fancier than that, but it's going to be some of the same stuff. So, I mean, you're still going to be able to get, like, chicken. It's just going to be called something different. They have a few interesting desserts that you can read up about. They have, like, a interesting popcorn stand with different spices, and I think that's what I've been hearing from some other podcasts I'm listening to, is that they're using tons of spices, like different spices that we don't use, maybe Indian sorts of spices or African spices. They're going to be making things taste a little bit different to give it a bit of an edge, to make it new and different for our typical American palate. However, they will have some stuff that is very normal, appealing to some of us who like bland food. Now, Galaxy's Edge takes place before this next movie comes out. Like, in the whole canon of things, it takes place after episode 8 before episode 9. So you're not going to get the old character feel. And this is probably where I'm going to start off my worries. I'm not going to call them complaints because I haven't been there yet. So I can't really complain about anything, right? But just based on what I'm seeing, I do have some concerns. And the first concern I have is that I'm not looking forward to not having the old characters. The old characters are the ones that I love the most. They're the ones I'm more invested in. Now, Rey and Poe and all those, Kylo Ren, they're cool. Don't get me wrong, I like them. But I want Darth Vader. I want Princess Leia. I want Han Solo. I want Luke Skywalker. I want the Ewoks. Y'all, I want the old stuff. And so I'm a little bit disappointed that they've set this up to be later in the series. Now, the good news is that I think they've also set it up where they could probably do some of the older stuff. And I'm not saying they're not going to have some of these older characters that we know and love walking around or meet and greet somewhere. But I just don't like how they set it up with the rides that it's supposed to be taking place later. But alas, it's not opened. I don't really know. I probably won't care as much as I think I'm going to care, but I'm thinking about it a lot right now. The other things I'm worried about, of course, are crowds and lines, which I've already talked about. I'm also worried about the going back to Smuggler's Run, that Millennium Falcon ride. So there's 6 riders, okay? The first 2 seats are they're the drivers, they're the pilots. They're the ones who get to push that lever to go into hyperspace, and they get to fly the ship. The other 2 push buttons, I guess, shoot and do other things. But if you look at the animation to it or the new videos of the ride, these other 4 people are directly behind the pilots. And so it's like rows, and these are big, tall seats. And all of the video, well, not the video, the images seem like they're right in front of the people who are the pilots, and everyone else just has to look from behind. So I'm not really into the seating just yet. Now, I have to ride it, and maybe I will be pleasantly surprised. But right now, it just really looks like the best and only seats that I would want would be those 2 at the front, where you're right up front doing the driving and the steering. The other 2 are blocked by each other. Oh man, in the 3rd row, forget about it. There's 2 rows of 3, and they're right behind one another. That person on the 3rd back row, forget about it. I don't want that seat. It's behind 2 other people, and these are tall. These look like to be tall chairs. So I'm worried about the seating. Now, what keeps me grounded in all of my complaints and keeps me grounded in all of my worries is that I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought about this. I'm sure Disney pays people good money to think about all these things before little old Rebecca Schlau from Arkansas gets worried about it. So it's probably not going to be as big of a deal as I'm thinking about it. But if I'm waiting in line for over an hour, you better believe I'm wanting that first row seat. I want to pilot the Millennium Falcon. I want to push that freaking lever and go into hyperspace. Me. Not my kids, not my husband. Me. They can sit in the back. I'm up front. Well, maybe that was a tad harsh, but whatever. All right. I'm also worried that they have this big hype for details, and all the cast members, all the staff are going to be playing roles, and all these interesting new food and drink items, and how everything's going to be very exclusive and completely immersive. It's going to be this huge immersive environment. I'm worried that that's not going to be sustainable. I'm worried that it sounds great in theory, and they are going to bust their rears to make that happen the first year. But I think the logistics of running this theme park with so many people may make some of these expectations not able to be met long term. And I don't know for sure, but how long do cast members stay excited about their roles? Because they have to play a serious role. They can't get out of character here. The people at the merchants that are selling you items, they're going to be dressed and acting the whole time. You're not just going to be able to, shoot the stuff with them, because they're going to be full-fledged characters. So I'm wondering if some of that hype that they're going to be so immersive, I'm wondering if that dies down. Now, I will say that it's not just us that are looking forward to Galaxy's Edge. I did see this really cute video of Disneyland started videoing some of the cast members. They're already current cast members at some other part of the theme parks, and they videoed the moment that they told these individuals that they were welcome to join the opening team at Galaxy's Edge. And these people are so excited, and so that is so cute. It almost made me want to cry, because some of them were crying. They were so excited, and that just gives me such joy to know that these people who work for Disney are so excited and committed to their jobs that they get so excited to work essentially just, another part of the theme park, but they are so excited. So that gives me a little bit of hope that they are more committed maybe than other places in the parks. And I'm not dissing anyone from Disney. Those cast members are great. They always make sure that we have a great time, and I have no complaints about the people that work there. But I'm just wondering how long everyone's going to keep up the whole immersive facade of Galaxy's Edge, and I'm wondering if somehow that's going to change. I'm also, I guess in general, just a little concerned about the hype, because I'm one of those people that if people tell me how good a movie is, like, oh my God, you got to go see this movie, oh my God, it's so good, or oh my God, you got to see this scary movie, it's so scary, and everyone's talking about how scary it is, and how great it is, and how scary it is. When I see it, I am just completely blown away with disappointment. I mean, just completely disappointed. And had they not hyped it up, had people not talked about it ahead of time, I probably would have liked it more. Now, this hasn't really happened. I don't really have too much evidence of this for areas of Disney World, specifically Pandora, because I don't remember feeling disappointed at all with Pandora. However, I wasn't as emotionally invested in Pandora as I am in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I'm a fan of Star Wars. I am a fan. I'm not the biggest, craziest fan, but y'all, I'm a fan. I was raised by a big Star Wars nerd, and I'm continuing the lineage. I love Star Wars, so it's a big deal. When it comes to Avatar, which Pandora is based on, I don't care. I really don't care. So it was really cool, and I loved it, and I knew it was going to be this big land that was beautiful, and it was great, and I still love it, and I can't wait to go back. But I didn't care about the hype as much, because I'm not invested in Avatar. I am so invested in Star Wars that I just don't want it to lose its appeal to me. And so that's why some of us, you may have heard other people, that we don't even like reading up on it, or we don't even like hearing other people talk about it, because we don't want it to lose any of its luster. However, going back to what I said earlier, Disney knows this too. Disney knows that they have an obligation to all of us Star Wars fans and to themselves. I mean, and they're in it to win it, y'all. They're not going to let Universal Studios win, and they have a lot of competition to work with, because as someone who is a huge Harry Potter fan, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter opening up at Universal Studios was a huge turning point in the game, in the competition. I mean, this upped the ante significantly. And so once Disney saw what Universal had done, I think they put the best of the best. They put their money in, and they said, you're not going to show us up and embarrass us. We're going to give you something threefold. And here we are, Galaxy's Edge. And I'm just really excited about it, and I think they're going to deliver. But I am a little bit worried about the hype, and I just don't want it to get ruined. Some things that I do suspect will happen. Going back to the talk that there won't be any fast passes and the lines will be crazy, I think this will just breed more opportunity for those extra paid events. Now, there's extra paid events you can do all around Disney World. There's extra magic mornings or extra morning. I can't remember what it's called. Whatever. You get to pay extra and get in early. And this is different than just the Disney World resorts get to come in an hour early and stay an hour late as a perk. This is a paid event. Like, this is something that costs closer to probably $75 to $150 per person, either after the park closes or before the park starts. I think they will have different events where you can pay to get in early before the park even opens. I think there's going to be a lot more of those, and I think they will be 100% worth the money, y'all. Pay it. If it's $100 a person, pay it. If it's $200 a person, pay it. It will not be worth it to wait in 6-hour lines. I say 6 hours. You know what? It may not be 6 hours. But Avatar Flight of Passage can get that long. And again, people aren't invested in Avatar like they are in Star Wars. So the lines are going to get crazy long. And I would love to pay for an event. Also, there's all these VIP tours going around Disney World. And if you haven't ever heard about these VIP tours, I mean, they are very expensive, but to the point where it may be worth it to you now. It may be worth something you want to consider, because they will get you exclusive access. Pretty much a paid guide will be your fast pass anywhere you want to go. And so for I don't know how much it is per hour. If it's like $300 per hour, $400 per hour, it's crazy. It's crazy expensive. But I think you can take up to 6 people with you. And so if you go with a group that's has other people paying too, that can be really worth your time if you go on some of these tours. So I would really look into any of those paid events, paid tours, any sort of Star Wars tours. So even right now, if you go online and you look up the different VIP Star Wars tours, now I don't think they explicitly say they're going to Galaxy's Edge, but I can, one of the podcasts I listened to, the guy there was saying, like, yeah, I guarantee you they'll go there. And there's still availability, which is crazy. There's still availability of these tours. So snatch them up while you can and consider it as a great way to tour these new sections of the park. And I say that for pretty much all the main attractions these days. You don't have to waste a fast pass on an attraction you want to go to if you can find a way to get into one of those paid events. Now, this requires more money, y'all. I get it. And it's already expensive. I completely get it. But Disney is in it to make the mega bucks. And if you want to have the smoothest experience and wait in the least amount of lines, you're going to have to pony up that pocket. Now, I've really only just brushed up on the details, the basic details of Galaxy's Edge. There's much more in-depth details and better podcasts that you can listen to that can give you some more exclusive access to people who've actually seen what's going on. I would check out the Diz Unplugged. They did an interview with one of the same people I'd already heard on a different podcast with Lynn Testa. I'm trying to figure out the name of that podcast. It's called the Disney Dish Podcast. They have a journalist that was able to go in. And so both Disney Dish and the Diz were able to get that same person, and she went over a lot of details. Also, like Capture the Magic podcast, they go over some extra details and they have more discussion, and I think it's really interesting. So just do your research on this, because there's a lot more out. Some other itty-bitty tidbits I've gathered from just randomly looking through information is I'm really excited about John Williams coming back to do some music. He's scoring the land. He's putting new Star Wars songs out in this land, and I just love that. Because I remember as a kid growing up, when I'd go to a ride or attraction, and I'm thinking back, I could still hear walking through some of these old attractions at Hollywood Studios or Universal Studios or Epcot, or even Space Mountain, like this outer space sound, and the sounds and music really set the scene. So knowing that John Williams and his group is coming to do the sound, that is so exciting. Also, I love that they're going to have full-size props. So a full-size X-Wing and TIE Fighter, and when I say those things, that's me being geeky and saying like the good guy ship and the bad guy ship. So there's going to be like lots of full-size props. There's going to be lots of little sneaky animatronics here and there. There's going to be some really unexpected surprises even at the water fountains. So, there's a lot of details going in, and some of the other podcasts do mention it, but I found some bits and pieces by randomly looking on the internet. So I encourage all of y'all to do the same, because I'm not going to be the expert here. So I think that's going to wrap it up for today. If you are interested in taking a trip to Branson in the Midwest, please check out my other podcast at RoadTrip Branson, or you can also check us out on Facebook. We have a combined Facebook group for my Branson podcast and this Disney World podcast. You can find us at Road Trip Cast on Facebook. And that will do it for the day. Thank you all for joining me.